going down, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're watching this right now, subscribe and do all that fun stuff. Send it to your friends and whatnot. What's going on, Duran?
Nothing much, man.
All right,
Ready to talk some football.
Oh, yeah. Today we're going to be going over our favorite draft picks between the years 2017 and 2019 for the NFC East. Then next we'll be covering the West. But before we dive right into it, Duran, we got some news. We got some juice.
Got some news. We got some contracts that ended up getting signed this week, and two players we're going to talk about in this episode are in the NFC East. So it's Jason Peters. He ended up re-signing with Eagles, and it's actually a pretty good deal. 1 year, $6 million, and he plays at a pretty high level, even though he's 38 years old. And, that's a great deal, $6 million. But what I thought was kind of weird is Brandon Brooks got hurt, so they signed him to play guard. And, he's never played guard in the NFL. So I thought that was a little weird. But I don't know if Dillard could play guard if he had experience playing guard in college or anything like that. But I know Jason Peters, he has only given up 2 sacks in the last 885 plays, and Dillard gave up 6 sacks in 346 plays last year. I mean, I didn't have time to exactly split it down to see how many were versus pass and rush or whatever, but just those numbers, if Dillard plays a whole season, is he going to give up 10-plus sacks? That number is going to double maybe. And Jason Peters has only given up 6 sacks in his last 36 starts. So to me, it's just put the best player on the outside at that tackle position. That's where you need the help the most, and especially with Carson Wentz and his injury history stuff, it's like, I don't know. I like to put the best players in their best position. So,
yeah, I figured it'd be an easier transition too. Just put the rookie inside, and then it's easier to learn on the outside, and instead of having a guy who's played there for 10-plus years, inside finally. So,
and you could wedge him in there between Peters and Kelsey, who are both all-pro players. It's like
kind of hide them.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. At least they have a guy that could go out there and play tackle if Dillard does end up struggling a little bit. But, I did like Dillard coming out. I think he could be an eventual starter out there. But, man, he just really hasn't lived up to it lately. Yeah. And Jason Peters. Next we got, of course, Dak Prescott. Him and the Cowboys did not come to an agreement on a long-term deal, so he ended up signing his franchise tag at $31.4 million, and he's only the third quarterback in NFL history to get the franchise tag. Usually they work the deals out, and the last one was Kirk Cousins, and we all saw what happened there. He ended up moving on after 2 franchise tags, so I hope Dak's not on that path, but I don't know who won or who lost in this thing. So, it seems like the Cowboys get another year with him, and Dak, he doesn't get that long-term deal, but he gets to get paid. I don't know. To me, I think the Cowboys offered him around 33 to 35 a year, and he's taken 31 this year. So I don't know. I know there were disagreeing about the 4 or 5 year deal, and it's just didn't get worked out. So we will see.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I mean, I know Dak's brother went off on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
So that might not help out, but we'll see.
It's funny how cool, calm, and collective Dak is, and then his brother goes online. Shows the other side. But I don't know. To me, I don't think Dak's going to have as good as a year as he did last year, just with all the weird stuff that's happening. He has a new coach. He held out of doing all the online training stuff during the off season. His center retired. He has, all these limitations put on him with COVID. And, it's just going to be hard to get back on track and learn a new offense and get all this stuff done. So he had a great year last year. We'll see if he could repeat it this year. So, yep, moving forward.
Yeah.
All right, I am ready to dive into the NFC East when you are.
All right, NFC East, the teams we got are the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Football Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, and the Washington
Just
team.
the Washington team, yep, for now. Actually, next week we'll probably have a new name for them.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm voting for Sentinels because I like the movie Replacements. So.
Oh, I just heard today. I saw on the Redskins Reddit page that for some reason they think it's going to be the Red Wolves. And I was like, that's not bad. I like it, but yeah, we'll see. I kind of wish they just dropped the red altogether and just went with the Wolves.
Yeah, Red Wolves. Why does that?
I have no clue. That was the first time I heard of that. So I heard of the Red Tails and stuff, but we'll see. I think we'll have a new name next week. They're trying to fast track this thing.
So the Red Wolves, they're a helicopter sea combat squad.
Oh, okay.
For the United States Navy.
Oh, that makes sense then.
Yeah, along with the Firehawks. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I kind of like Red Tails, but I mean, I understand it's going to be a whole new branding for them. So I'm thinking like, I don't know, especially with everything going on with like the sexual harassment cases and everything too.
Yeah.
Change everything altogether. And they did the right thing as far as bringing out the logo. I think they hired the right coach for this. I mean, I know you're a big fan of Rivera when he was leaving, possibly substitute for Garrett, and I know you wanted that, but
I actually feel bad for him coming into all this stuff.
I feel so bad. Yeah. And he said the right thing. I mean, I'm not going to quote it word for word, but one part of his statement was that he's like, I'm not going to allow this. My daughter works for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And, it shows that he's a family man. He's a caring guy. I mean, we all saw it on All or Nothing as well when one of his players had a bad incident and he just sat down and talked to him. I think it's the right guy for the job to kind of clean up this mess.
Yep.
But it just sucks that, like you said, I do feel bad for the guy because I'm a big fan of them. So, I don't know. Hopefully he gets past this. But, yeah, we'll see about the name change. I mean, like you said, just change you don't need the red in there. Just put Wolves or something.
Yeah, well, now that you said – I didn't know what a Red Wolf was until you just read that thing. So it makes sense, especially being in D.C. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, let's start off with your team right here, Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. Right.
So let's go over 2017. They picked your guy Taco first.
Pick Taco.
You weren't a big Taco guy.
I wasn't.
Cheeto we really liked. We followed him a lot. Yep. Jordan Lewis we were a big fan of. Ryan Switzer. Yep. I liked him a lot actually as well. Same with Xavier Woods. I'm actually a big fan of this class. Until it gets to Marquez White.
Yeah.
They're down. I wasn't a fan of Noah Brown. He was more of an athlete that never really turned into what people thought he was going to be.
Yep. Joe Ivy, Jordan Carroll, none of those guys stuck around. Noah Brown was on the practice squad for a while. But, I think they did great with those first, 5 picks?
Yeah.
Ryan Switzer ended up leaving, going to Pittsburgh and the Raiders. Well, the Raiders first and now on Pittsburgh. But, yeah, he's good at what he does. I like this draft class. That was a decent one.
All right. Then it goes into 2018. Leighton Vander Esch, Connor Williams, Michael Gallup, Dorrance Armstrong, Dalton Schultz, Mike White, Chris Covington, Cedric Wilson, and Bo Scarborough. I thought Bo was actually going to be a solid back for you guys. He's doing a little bit of work in Detroit now.
Yep. He did decent in Detroit.
Yeah, he did, but
Yeah.
I think he only got the opportunity because so many of their backs went
Yeah,
down. We'll
exactly.
see how he is now, especially that they got Swift. But
Hmm. But yeah,
Cedric Wilson, I liked his pre-workouts. I liked his pre-workouts for his before the combine. I followed that a lot.
this was another good class. A lot of
Yeah,
these
another
guys are
solid class.
still.
I gotta say.
I know 5, 6. There's 6 guys in this draft class that are still on the team. So another good one. We got 2, 3 starters out of it.
Mhm.
I'll take that every year.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Is Mike White still with you guys?
yeah,
Okay. You guys got rid of Cooper Rush, right?
yep.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Then it goes into 2019. Tristan Hill, Connor McGovern, Tony Pollard. I like those 3 picks.
Hmm.
I
Tristan Hill still needs to step it up. He hasn't shown to be that guy yet.
if he turned into more, I mean, I don't know. If he solidified himself on a starting spot, like secured
Yeah.
it, because right now he's rotational, right?
Hmm. And
Yeah, if he
he's on
solidified
the
that.
light side. He doesn't play like even half of the snaps.
Yeah,
So,
he's not really like a big dude, not like a run stuffer. He's more like a hybrid type of guy. Kind of,
yeah.
he reminded me of Solomon Thomas and how he played. So, um,
Pollard, Michael and Joe Jackson.
yeah, Michael,
Uh,
both from Miami as well. I like Michael Jackson. I did. Joe Jackson, I thought he was going to be a solid, probably like rotational type of guy, but
mhm.
he's not really.
Yep.
Devon Wilson, didn't really know him. Michael Weber, I liked him a lot. And then Jalen Jelks, he was just kind of your 7th round pick. He was there, pick
Yep.
best available. Um,
Well, this was
yeah,
probably the worst one out of the 3. I mean, we didn't have a first round pick that year,
yeah,
but
that's you
we
guys just.
traded for Amari. But
Well, I guess you can add Amari to this class. I mean,
well, yeah, those are 3 pretty solid draft classes. Cowboys usually draft pretty good,
yeah,
and like we got Connor McGovern here, Tony Pollard. Those 2 guys contribute, at least in their own special role to the team. So McGovern's battling it out. He might have a shot at being the center this year. So we'll see. But yeah, do you want me to go with my favorite?
yeah. You can go first. This is your squad. Go ahead, man.
You got it. My favorite came actually in 2018. I went with the 3rd round pick, Michael Gallup
Gotcha.
from Colorado State. And I mainly went with him because he was my number 5 wide receiver in that draft with a second round grade, and the Cowboys ended up getting him in the 3rd round. So number 81 overall. I thought that's pretty good value, and he's a starter. He plays pretty much every snap for the offense. But coming out of Colorado or Colorado State, he reminded me a little bit of Corey Davis, who was another small school guy from
Mhm.
uh, Western Michigan. Just the frame, smooth routes, and a big catch radius. He didn't have the best quarterback in college, of course, but he still ended up with 100 catches and 1,400 yards his last year at Colorado State. And when he got onto the Cowboys, he came out pretty slow. He didn't start right away, but he did flash and showed some of his skill that eventually got him to turn into a starter. In 2019 is when he really broke out. He had 6 100-yard games and ended the year with 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns, leading the 2018 wide receiver class in yards per game. So second place is DJ Moore, who's actually right behind him, less than a yard behind him. So he's neck and neck with DJ Moore. And that's pretty impressive just because DJ Moore is the number 1 receiver on his team, and Michael Gallup's the number 2 on his team. So he still puts up some pretty decent yards. I don't think Michael Gallup's the type of receiver that'll ever be a true number 1 guy for a team, but I think he's a great number 2, especially opposite of Amari Cooper, who is a number 1 wide receiver. He's just consistent. He doesn't really have a lot of drops or anything like that. He's one of Dak Prescott's favorite targets, and I just expect him to keep working and improving as the years go on. Maybe he could crack like that top 20 wide receiver thing. I know PFF has him somewhere around there, but it'll be hard for him to kind of solidify himself as a Pro Bowl or All-Pro guy just because it's going to be hard without that number one wide receiver volume. But skills-wise, I like him. He's just been a solid player for us.
Yeah. I liked him a lot. He definitely was a solid type of guy that I like to watch because I like to watch receivers as well.
Mm-hmm.
He came across the board. He had solid route running, like you were saying. But mine. It's funny because I was looking down at their previous years as well. Let's see, they had good first rounders. 17, like you said, we weren't big at all on Taco.
Mm-hmm.
Leighton, he started coming on late, which is solid. But actually, mine came in the second round in 2017. Was Cheeto Uzie.
Yep.
Chidobe Awuzie, but he goes by Cheeto. He's a young kid coming from Oak Grove, actually, San Jose, California, over here. Yeah, I liked him coming out of Colorado for sure. He was a solid piece of that defensive backfield with him and Witherspoon, and you also had Tedrick Thompson and Sufo Lifu, I think how you say it. Yeah, was back there for Colorado. So they were actually a good defensive backfield that year.
You know who else was there?
Who's that?
He was a youngster. He was only a sophomore, Isaiah Oliver.
Oh, that's right. Isaiah Oliver was there.
Yeah, he was there. I don't think he was starting, but he was a youngster that was there.
He was definitely getting quality reps because he was going against some offenses and they required some nickels. So I want to say that I saw him a lot playing down there. But before his senior season, Awuzie, before his senior season, he was named to the Thorpe watch list, along with the Nagurski Award watch list. I really liked his senior year tape because what they did is they allowed him to rush a lot, and he got 4 sacks that year, which is pretty solid for a cornerback. So then he also had 48 tackles. He only had 1 interception, and I know that they targeted a lot of Witherspoon. But he's a solid player. I liked him a lot. He definitely was my favorite pick of them. So
yeah, he was my honorable mention. So definitely he was my number 4 cornerback in that year's draft, and that was behind Marshawn Lattimore, Garyon Conley, and Kevin King. So I like this draft class of corners too. But yeah, they did have that good secondary in Colorado. We just mentioned the guys that were all there, and he played all over the field, inside, outside, and slot. He was even a team captain. So those are all things that I look for when guys are coming out of the draft. Another thing that, looking back at my notes, that it reminded me of, he was mentored by Nnamdi Asomugha. So in college, and I forgot about that, but that was another thing. I just like guys that are out there looking to get better and have all-pro guys like that are helping them do it, showing them the way. I think he really cemented himself as like that first-round pick type in my book by balling out at the combine. He put up some pretty damn good numbers and just showed that he could play cornerback in the NFL. Now for the Cowboys, he pretty much plays strictly that left cornerback spot. And he's had his ups and downs. He was the 8th most targeted player in the NFL, and that's for all cornerbacks. He only had 3 interceptions in 36 starts, which isn't very good. And, when I watch him play, I don't think he gets his head around enough. And maybe this new coaching staff will help with that. I don't know if that's kind of how he was coached or what it is, because Byron Jones played pretty much the same way. We'll see what this new coaching staff can do in that area. But PFF has ranked him as the number 21 cornerback for 2 years, 2 out of his 3 years. And now he's coming back to the team as the number 1 cornerback because Byron Jones has now left. So I wouldn't really say he has like big shoes to fill. Byron was a good player. He wasn't the absolute best, but he definitely has to step his game up, and especially if he's looking for that big contract at the end of next year. So unfortunately, I could kind of see him struggling next year, maybe against those number one type big receivers. I just don't think that's really his specialty, but maybe one of these young guys could step up and help him out. But overall, I like Cheeto. I think he was a great pick for a second rounder, and definitely worth being a starter. I just don't know, kind of like Michael Gallup, if he'll ever be that number one dude.
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say it's funny because my honorable mention actually was Michael Gallup. So
Nope. We had the same, just switched around.
exactly. All right, so you ready to move on to the next team?
I'm ready.
All right, so it goes with the New York Giants.
New
Go all
York.
the way down, starting with 2017.
Oh,
Evan Ingram.
yeah. Evan Ingram. Okay. That was their first round pick, 2017.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Let's see here. I mean, I liked him more as a receiving type, and I
Yeah.
think how that utilize him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, excuse me. Excuse me. Ooh.
Bless you. Dalvin Tomlinson, Davis Webb, Wayne Gallum, Avery Moss, Adam Bitwosny. But
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of anybody. I mean, I got to see Davis Webb play at the Senior Bowl, and I think that's when they started drafting like the Senior Bowl MVPs
Mhm.
as far as quarterback goes. But yeah, the only person I liked out of here was Evan Ingram.
Yep,
And
I
I
remember
wasn't,
Dalvin Tomlinson, the big guy from Alabama. But
you know,
uh,
wasn't a big
yeah,
fan.
Evan Ingram takes the cake for that draft class. 2018,
Gets a
we
little
all
better.
know. We all know Saquon Barkley. He's a stud, the number 2 overall pick in that year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
Will Hernandez, who I remember watching a lot of his tape. He was a dog. He was at the Senior Bowl. Good player. He's a starter on their line now at guard. Lorenzo Carter, B.J. Hill, Kyle Luletta, R.J. McIntosh. Wasn't really a fan of any of those guys. I do remember Lorenzo Carter, but Kyle Luletta, but not really anyone else there. 2019, they got their quarterback, Daniel Jones, with the number 6 overall pick. Dexter Lawrence, who I remember, I liked him at Clemson. DeAndre Baker, who I liked. O'Shane Zimenez from Old Dominion, I liked him. Julian Love, he was a guy that I thought would go at the beginning of the college football season. I thought he was going to be more highly regarded than a 4th-round pick. Then it goes Ryan Connolly, Darius Slayton, who I remember from Auburn, Corey Ballantyne, George Osfo, a DJ, don't know him, and Chris Slayton. So my favorite draft class was obviously 2018, where I know they got 2 solid players in Saquon, he's pretty much all pro, and Will Hernandez, they're at guard. It seems like did they have a change somewhere in there? Because it seems like their draft classes have gotten better the last
Yeah.
couple years.
Well, I know they changed head coaches, but I still think they had the same GM,
Okay.
and that's I can't think of his name right now.
I don't know it, but yeah, they've done decent. At least they're hitting on these 1st-round picks and getting some depth players in rounds 2, 3, and things like that. So
Yeah.
I like it. Who'd you go with? Go ahead.
I think we had the same one.
Yep.
I went with
Saquon.
Saquon for sure. Watching this guy, like you said, we all knew him. He was just a consistent stud ever since he stepped on foot over there in College Town. From 2015 2017, he was definitely a monster. Something that every defensive coordinator opposed to him had to plan out like weeks ahead. He was the best running back in that country for sure. Just to list off some awards and honors, he was the Fiesta Bowl champion. He was 6 times Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. If you look at the list, it goes down for sure. Like, it's a long list to go through, but some school records. He crushed the rushing touchdowns with 43. Most rushing yards by a freshman, which is 1,076.
No.
Most rushing yards by a sophomore, 1,496. Most total yards in a single game against Iowa. It was actually a pretty solid defense.
How many yards does it say?
358.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Then first player to score a return and passing touchdown in the same game. And that's just the school records. So it's pretty amazing to see. If you look back in history, people are always scared to draft Penn State running backs because they either got hurt or they really didn't pan out. I think the only one that really did was Larry Johnson, and so no one really sparked besides that. And now you see Saquon kind of erasing that history. So he was definitely a stud. I loved watching him play. Like, he was just so fearful back there. So
yeah. I mean, I went with the same guy. Of course, he was my number one running back in that draft class. He was just a freak athlete, balled out at Penn State every year, like you just said. He was a 3-down back. He had over 5,000 total yards in 3 seasons. And now that he's in the NFL, he's kind of picked up, I feel like, right where he left off in college. He's probably my second favorite running back behind Christian McCaffrey, just in all-round players in the backfield. So he has the power to run between the tackles. He has the ability to bounce it outside, and he has the speed to take pretty much any play to the house with ease. When you add in his pass catching too, it's like, what else can you ask for? He's a stud. I know he did get injured last year. What was his ankle injury? And he tried to play through it, which made me like him even more, just showing, he loves the game. He's going to be out there fighting with his teammates. He never complains. He just shows up, puts in work, and kind of despite his team's lack of success, he just continues to prove that he's one of the best players in the NFL every week. And, yeah, Saquon Barkley, he's a stud, man.
Yeah, for sure.
He's great. My honorable mention, who I went with, you might have the same guy, Will Hernandez, 2018.
Davis Webb.
No, not Davis Webb. He didn't end up living up to the hype. Will Hernandez, the offensive guard from UTEP, and they ended up getting both of these guys in the same draft. So I actually thought Will Hernandez that year was going to go in the first round. Just the way he looked at the Senior Bowl. He played pretty good there. So in college, he was just that big mauler type of player. He was stronger than anyone he faced at UTEP, and he didn't even give up a single sack his senior year. I think PFF had it where he only gave up 4 pressures the entire year. So 4 pressures, no sacks. When he went to the Senior Bowl, he just proved that he belonged in the NFL. He rose to the occasion, and all of that stuff that he showed in college has kind of transferred into the NFL. He still has that like bully mentality. You see him out there fighting with defensive players and stuff like that. And he's another guy that just never leaves the field. He led all the Giants players in snaps last year. And even though PFF, they had him falling outside of the top 50 guards. I think he's a better player than that. And that might have just been the team success around him too. So I know they've added a couple more guys to that offensive line. And I think he has the talent to definitely be like in that top 20. So he's a grinder. He'll get better as the Giants get better. So I think, he'll be a top 20 guard. I'll say that.
Yeah, like you said, he kind of came to our attention first at the Senior Bowl, and we liked a lot of one-on-ones. and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was the Cowboys coverage actually we were watching, because we watched them go 1-on-1 against I think that year was Marcus Davenport, which was told to be a freak, and he just stonewalled him, then pancaked on the next rep. He was just like you said, he was a bully. He was super stout, and I loved watching him play. I love seeing a guy like that coming from a small town just come in and just crush it. So.
Yep, he was born to play guard, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right, so that brings us to Philly.
Philadelphia Eagles. Let me pull up their draft.
All right, so in 2017, let's see, let's list up some guys right here. Derek Barnett, Sidney Jones, I like them both. Roswell Douglas, that guy kept getting hurt, and that sucked. Matt Hollins, liked him. Darnell Pumphrey,
Yep.
super small running back. I think they were trying to replace their Sproles that time.
Sproles won't give up, though.
No, he won't. See, Shelton Gibson, Nathan Gary, and then Elijah Quills.
So Nathan Gary's still on the team. He actually moved from safety that he was in college to now as a linebacker.
Okay.
And I remember he was kind of those safeties that when I watched him, he didn't have the range or the speed and stuff like that. So I think that was the perfect move for him. But Sidney Jones, he got hurt. We know that too, but he's coming back along. I did like Derek Barnett a lot. Just seeing him at Tennessee, he was a stud there.
Yeah, for sure. He always got the comparison with Reggie White, not only because he did go to Tennessee, but because he was also a beast, and I think he was on the edge of breaking his sack record.
He did break it.
Oh, he did, right?
Yeah, he broke it. Yeah.
Let's see here. In 2018, Dallas Goedert, they kind of snubbed actually the Cowboys that year. Remember that? Avonte Maddox, still a solid player. Josh Sweat, Matt Pryor, and then Jordan Mailata.
Yep, Australia.
Yeah, I would say it's funny because I'm looking on Pro Football Reference and I don't see a college on here, so that's funny.
Yep, just says Australia at the page I'm looking at.
Gotcha. 2019, another small class. Andre Dillard, like you said in previous, when we were looking at the news, solid player, was definitely our favorite tackle that year. Miles Sanders.
Yep.
JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Wasn't a fan of him.
Sharif Miller and Clayton Thorson. I was actually a fan of JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He seemed like a big possession receiver. That's something that I looked at him a lot because that's something the 49ers didn't really have. They had a bunch of slot receivers.
Yep.
And seeing Kyle Shanahan's offense playing fruition, I understand why we'd go with him. Definitely didn't have the best routes, but he comes from a family of basketball players, and it definitely showed.
Yeah.
Grab that ball like it was, a rebound. But
just throughout the years, I kind of shied away from those big rebound guys. I kind of valued a little bit more separation and route running and things like that. And actually, that year they ended up taking JJ over DK Metcalf, who I had ranked way higher than him. But they chose their guy though.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so who did you go with for your favorite?
My favorite coming out was from 2017, their first round pick, Derek Barnett. We talked about him a little bit. He broke Reggie White's sack record. But that year, he was my number 4 edge rusher, and that was behind, of course, Myles Garrett, Solomon Thomas, and TJ Watt. So I liked him. I thought the Cowboys were going to look at him as well. He was a 3-year starter. He ranked number 6 in tackles for loss and number 5 in sacks in this draft class. So when I look at that combination, it's just I don't think it's an accident. He can get to the ball. He can get behind the line of scrimmage with those 2 stats. But he plays both the run and the pass pretty well. At the combine, he was just an average tester. He didn't really, step outside and show that he was one of the elite athletes there. He was also a little bit undersized and had short arms, and I know coaches and scouts they don't really like that, especially if you're playing defensive end. In the NFL, I feel like he hasn't really lived up to what I expected. I mean, he's a decent player, but I was expecting a lot from him. In 3 years, he's had 14 sacks, which that's not bad at all. But I just don't that I expected him to have more than that, especially for where he was picked in the first round. I have seen him flash, though. He's not like a guy that just never flashes or anything like that. He just needs to put everything together and show that he's the guy. I have seen him get a couple stupid penalties, as in late hits and offside stuff. I think he had 8 of them last year. He has a pretty good cast around him too. Just that Eagles D line is pretty scary, and I think he just needs to step up and play at those guys' level. And he also needs to stay healthy. I think he could take that next step. The Eagles think the same thing because they exercised the 5th-year option on him. So that just gives him one more year to kind of show that he's that guy. But I think eventually this year is probably his make it or break it year. It's like he's really got to put it together. It's just, I expect a lot, especially when you hear this guy broke Reggie White's sack record and things like that. So Derek Barnett, I liked him coming out of college. He just really hasn't lived up to that draft pick yet.
Yeah, for sure. He was actually my same, for all the reasons that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
So, without stepping on any toes or whatnot, I'm going to go and say one of my honorable mentions was Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
I know he's in the news for, getting sucker punched, which is very unfortunate. But, that year in 2018, he was actually my favorite tight end coming out. I know that I think he was the 3rd tight end actually picked. He had Hayden Hurst and Mike Gesicki. He got picked over him for sure. And that was actually surprising to me, only because I wasn't a big fan of either. Like I said beforehand, he was definitely my favorite tight end coming out, along with Mark Andrews, who also got picked later.
Yep.
But watch this guy play. He just seemed like a more well-rounded type of player. Definitely a solid receiving for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So he definitely kept my eye out. I think maybe he got snubbed because of his small school. But other than that, I thought this kid was the whole package as far as the tight end goes, and he looked very moldable, and I was really excited to see him play. But he's turning it on right now. He definitely has a great running mate with him, with Zach Ertz. So he's learning a lot, and what a guy to learn from for sure.
Yep, he was my honorable mention as well. Yep, he was my number 1 tight end that year too. And I kind of feel like it's a little bit of the opposite of Derek Barnett in the way that he was my number 1 player, but I didn't expect him to be as good as he is. I think he's a really good tight end. So he's lived up to the hype. He dominated at South Dakota. They're one of the best D2 schools, but he showed that he probably could have played D1. I thought he was really well-rounded as well. He could line up in the slot or in line. He also was pretty solid at run blocking. So this was a guy that I wanted on my team. He was a big target. I liked his catch radius and athleticism. The only thing that I didn't really like was his yards after the catch, but everything else just outweighed that. And for a tight end, that yards after the catch is just the cherry on the top. It's not required for that position. And now that he's in the NFL, yes, he does line up with Zach Ertz, and that's probably the best duo of tight ends in the entire league. And he'd probably be the number 1 tight end on most teams. But I like the 2 tight end look, especially when you're in the red zone or even in the run game. It works really well when you kind of work it in with play action and establish the run, do some play action, have both of those tight ends that could run, block, and catch out in the open field is a nice big target. So I don't know if he could match the numbers that he did from last year. I think he kind of hit his ceiling there just because he took advantage of all those injuries that happened to the wide receivers. So he got a lot more targets than I think, the normal number 2 tight end on a team does get. Ertz is also like Carson Wentz's favorite target. So he's a good player. I think he should be used more. I don't know if they're going to split from one of these guys at some point down the line, but I just think they should, keep them both on the field. They're both great players, and take advantage of as many great players as you can.
Exactly. All right. Ready to wrap this up with the Washington football team?
Washington football team, I'm ready.
All right. So it goes into 2017. Actually, a solid draft. Jonathan Allen, 2 Alabama players to start off their thing with. They also picked up Ryan Anderson.
Yep.
Fabian Moreau, Shamonte Pine, Monte Nicholson.
Cool.
Yeah. Chase. I'm just trying to see if I recognize any of them really.
Yeah, I don't remember anyone after Jeremy Sprinkle. So those are 2 6th and 2 7th round guys. But yeah, I like Josh Allen definitely. Ryan Anderson, I remember him. He was kind of a stout edge rusher guy at Alabama. Fabian Moreau, I don't know exactly where I had him ranked, but I do remember watching his stuff at UCLA. I know he wasn't near my number 1 or first round type of guy, but he was solid. Samaje Perine, Monte Nicholson, decent players for that range. So yeah, 2017, pretty good draft class. They got some starters from it.
Yeah, then it goes into 2018 and their first pick here.
Another Alabama guy.
Duran Payne. It goes into Darius Guy, so I really like that running back. Always love those LSU running backs for sure.
Yep.
Jerron Christensen, Troy Apke.
I remember him. He was a spark stud.
Yeah, I just remember mainly from that's it, just from the combine because it was spark score. He wasn't really anything to, write home about over that Penn State, but I know he got a lot of play because his spark score was so well, as long as his fast 40 time and Deion saying that, damn, that white boy could run.
Yep.
Yeah, that was definitely a funny moment over there. But Tim Settle.
I remember Tim Settle. Sean Dion
Hamilton. Greg Stroman, and Trey Quinn. I think Trey Quinn was actually Mr. Irrelevant that year.
Oh, was he? And he's still on the team.
He is.
He's still doing it. And Sean Dion Hamilton ended up being a great pick for the 6th round. He's a starting linebacker for them. He's a fast linebacker, and that's what I like about it. He has great range. Tim Settle, I remember him. He had pretty skinny legs, and he is built big up top, but he's still on the team as a 5th round pick, and he's, he might even be playing a little bit better than some of these first round touted guys, maybe even Duran Payne. But yeah, this was another solid draft class. They got a lot of starters and contributors.
Yeah, they did. I was definitely a fan of this draft class for sure. All right, so let's go over to 2019. Dwayne Haskins, we all knew him. Wasn't too high on him being a first rounder. I honestly had Drew Lock ahead of him, but that's who they liked. That's who they picked. They went on to go ahead and Montez Sweat. That's who they traded up for. And I know he fell because of his heart condition, but it definitely was a big Montez Sweat fan.
I forgot about that. The heart condition. I also forgot they traded up for him.
Yeah. Scary Terry McLaurin.
Great
I like him. Got to see him. Got a lot of burn at the Senior Bowl.
Yep.
Bryce Love. Saw him a lot when I was watching Christian McCaffrey. Wes Martin. A couple of guards here. And then Ross Priescherbacher,
something like that.
Yeah. Nickelbacher.
Yep.
Cole Holcomb. Kelvin Harmon, who actually just went down with a torn ACL out for the season. Jimmy Moreland and Jordan Belfort. I remember Jimmy Moreland from actually he was a Senior Bowl guy too, wasn't he?
I'm not sure about that. I do know the name. I don't remember watching much film on him. But
Yeah.
Kelvin Harmon, I thought he would go higher than the 6th round for sure. So I think they got a steal there. I mean, he hasn't put it together on the field yet. Doesn't look like he'll have the chance to do it this year either. But thought that was a good pick. This is another draft class that I think, that's 3 solid draft classes. And
Hmm.
I don't know if it probably was that coaching staff. I don't know if it leaks down from the owner, but this team should be better than they play on the field. I mean, they finally got their quarterback, Montez Sweat. He was a freak athlete. Terry McLaurin is probably the best 3rd-round pick that whole year. I mean, he's tearing it up
Hmm.
on the field.
Definitely.
Bryce Love, Wes Martin. I mean, yeah, these are 3 solid draft classes. So they got some good young talent on the team.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So if you want to go over your favorite
So my
pick,
favorite, I ended up going with 2017's 1st-round pick, Jonathan Allen, the
me
defensive
too.
tackle
Same
from
here.
Bama.
Same
And
here.
I'll admit it, I missed Terry McLaurin. He wasn't even really on my radar as being one of those top guys. It's kind of sad to say, but he was my number 15th ranked receiver that year. And yeah, I missed something. I don't know if it was the scheme that they were running or what it was, but it probably would have been Terry if we're going for just best draft pick that they've
He
done.
was buried behind Paris Campbell, and
Uh,
yeah. So I mean, we didn't really get to see him besides the Senior Bowl. So yeah, but yeah, that's all really to say about Scary Terry. I missed on him too. I wasn't the biggest on him, but I definitely know about
yeah,
him.
I mean, so yeah, I went with Jonathan Allen from Bama. He was my number 1 defensive tackle in 2017. He was a 3-year starter with great production. He had 28 sacks and 44 tackles for a loss. And that's very impressive for a guy, especially that plays inside the way that he does. And I thought he was quick for his size, and he had a good set of pass rush moves, and he had the ability to extend his arms and shed blockers. So those are great traits for defensive tackles to have coming into the NFL, already established with that, that move that they could go to. And he did have a little bit of an injury history. He had an arthritic shoulder, and that hasn't been an issue in the NFL, but I know he did get hurt. I think it was a knee or an ankle or something like that last year. So now that he's at the Washington football team, he's kind of been like an average player. I thought he'd be better than he was. Uh, Washington probably wants more from a number 17 overall pick, and maybe the addition of Chase Young could help open up some of those gaps and stuff like that for him. So PFF had him ranked as the number 84 interior defensive lineman, and I know he's better than that. So he should move up those charts in the next couple years. Uh, yeah, he did. He did have a knee injury week 1 of last year, so maybe that's what it was. Maybe he was struggling with that knee injury all year and just couldn't perform up to his potential. But this is another guy, big year for him. Will he get his 5th-year option? I just think he needs to prove that he's worth it and
Mm.
kind of ball out this year. But yeah, Jonathan Allen, I liked him a lot coming out of Bama.
Yeah, same here. I mean, for all the reasons that you did say. So I mean, I'm not even gonna try to attempt to follow that. So we're gonna go on to my honorable mention,
Yep.
and that was Darius Geis. I like the running back coming out of LSU. I know he spent some time sitting behind of Leonard Fournette, but watching this guy play at LSU, he was definitely a stud. I remember watching him, and see, I think it was against. I want to say it might have been against Arkansas, but he rushed. I caught it mid game. He just got done completing a long run, and he became the 4th running back in SEC history to record multiple 250 yard rushing performances in the career, and that's in the footsteps of Mo Williams, Bo Jackson, and Herschel Walker. So that's definitely a good company to have.
Mm-hmm.
I know his last year there in 2017, it was kind of limited because a lower leg injury, but watched this kid play. He definitely had a lot of heart. That definitely was fun to watch. Like I said, I was a big fan of all the LSU running backs coming out, and I know since been in the league, he's been battling all the injuries and whatnot. So hopefully those soon go away, so we can watch a little bit more of him. Definitely like watching this guy run. I mean, the guy that's, it's hard to come back from a torn ACL, which he sustained in 2018 and 2019. He was still, having some problems, which eventually led to an MCL sprain.
Yep.
So we'll see for sure. Definitely got my fingers crossed for him. Hopefully the renewed team over there in Washington, helps him out.
Yeah, he was my number 2 running back that year behind Saquon Barkley, and pretty much I just liked his size, speed, power combination that he put together. He's a solid looking guy, and he just, he could do it all. Just needs to stay healthy and contribute on the field a little bit more. But my honorable mention that I ended up going with was another Bama boy that they picked in 2018, Duran Payne. And I narrowed it down as either going to be him or Montez Sweat. But I wasn't as high on Sweat as a lot of people were. I feel like he really shot up draft boards after the combine when he had a freakish performance. But looking at the tape, I kind of kept Sweat at like a 1 to 2 rounder, first, second rounder. But Duran Payne was a first rounder in my book. He was the number 3 defensive tackle in that draft. And at Bama, I was impressed with him because another guy that had great athleticism for his size. He played three downs, all 3 downs, which is another impressive thing for a defensive tackle. And he was touted mostly as a big run stopper type guy. And when watching his tape, he had like a good sidestep move that he would use in combination with a swim and get good penetration. I thought that was one of the moves that he could bring into the NFL and, maybe help him get a little bit more pass rush coming in alongside of being a run stopper. So at Bama, I mean, overall, he didn't produce many sacks or tackles for a loss. So maybe I missed something there. But he plays kind of pretty much the same role at Washington right now. He was mainly their zero technique in a 3-4. And he's the run-stopping guy. He takes up blocks. He opens up holes for linebackers, and that's pretty much his role. We'll see if that switches now that they have Ron Rivera as the new coach, and I'm pretty sure they're switching to a 4-3 now. So he might end up playing a little bit, 2, maybe even over to 3 technique. But I think Duran Payne's a solid player, but Washington their defensive line is great. They have a lot of first-round picks there. They just need to start building that back end now to maybe help these guys out a little bit. It's like they have nearly nobody at corner and safety that could really make the quarterback hold the ball and allow these guys to get a real decent pass rush going. So I think if they just start building from that back end, these front end guys will just start to shine.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. All right. Anything else you want to say before?
No, we're gonna cover a little bit more news in our next episode. Just wrap up with contract stuff that everyone else signed, and just stay tuned for coverage of everything football, and take a look at our previous videos and things like that for coverage of all NFL teams and your favorite players.
All right, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.
All right. Next time. Later.